On today's show, we're going to find out how the Lord took a very powerful childhood vision given to a little boy with a dream of becoming a professional actor and filmmaker, turned that vision into a reality years later, then revealed a much deeper reality about the vision that the little boy could have ever imagined. Right here on Faith on Film. Welcome to Faith on Film. I'm very excited for about our guest today. He's been a good friend of mine for a while. Was actually in a movie that I executive produced. But let me give you a proper introduction here first. Inspired by an emotional rerun of an episodic series at the age of 7, Jeff Rose set his sights on becoming a professional actor and filmmaker. Born and raised in Marietta, Georgia, Jeff could only dream about his goals until registering for beginning acting classes during his freshman year of college at Kennesaw State University. I hope I said that right. Jeff is now happily married to Kelly Rose and is the proud father of 2 child actors, Brody Rose, who's the star of the Irwin Brothers hit feature film I Can Only Imagine, and Kayla Rose, and is the proud stepfather of another child actor, Riley Bundick, and her brother, Evan. Jeff, welcome to Faith on Film, man. How are you doing?
Thank you, Isaac. I'm doing great. You did perfect with the names. I'm doing good if I can remember my name.
Yeah. You know what? It's like the vision at my age is starting to go away a little bit, so it's tough to read there. But well, hey, we're excited to have you on today.
I'm excited and so honored. I'm so behind what you're doing with the show and what you're doing with your entire career. But well, I sincerely mean it when I say this is a privilege for me to be here today.
Thank you. You know, my goal with all this is simply to get people to connect with those of you that are working in the faith-based industry or are Christians working in the secular industry, but nonetheless, it's all about faith, whether it be in faith films or in secular films, but it's all about what our faith, how our faith carries us. So really, the first thing I'd like to do is just get to know Jeff. How did you get started then?
Well, you mentioned a little bit in the teaser there about the TV show that I was watching when I was 7 years old. It was The Rifleman with Chuck Connors.
Okay.
And, it was black and white. It was a rerun. Let me reiterate that. I'm old, but I'm not that old. And but I was watching the show when I was 7 years old, and my mom was at home with me, and I got caught up in the emotion. And by the time the show was over, I was bawling like a baby. Wow. I'm 7, but I'm bawling like a baby. And my mom came to me. She didn't know what was wrong at first, and she explained to me once I explained to her it was that black and white TV show that we just saw. She explained to me that she had done a little bit of acting in college, and that it took a team of people to put that thing together that affected me.
So it's not just the person in front that you're seeing on the camera; it's a whole team of people behind it.
That's exactly right, and God rest her soul, my mom passed away a couple of years ago, but she swore until the day she died that I looked her in the eye that night and said, "Mom, I'm going to grow up and be a part of that team." That was the exact word that I used, Isaac.
Nice.
And so I set my sights on that. And I felt with everything in me that God had given me the ability to do it. I believed in myself. I believed in the talents he had given me. But I was scared to death to do anything in front of more than 3 people at one time except play baseball. That was all I could do without experiencing incredible stage fright. So there are a lot of little stories I can add as anecdotes to this, but I'll just cut to the chase because I know we're somewhat limited on time here. But it was 10 years later. Okay. So I was 17 and beginning my freshman year of college, trying to get a baseball scholarship. I'd hurt my knee. That was out of the picture pretty much. I could have tried to rehab and everything, but it was just going to be too tough. So I go to my freshman year of college, and I see on the schedule that there is literally an acting 101 class at Kennesaw State University. It was a state university at the time.
Right.
So I remember my heart started pounding as I was signing my name on that schedule that I wanted to be a part of that course, a part of that class. And I basically, I guess in my head, or I might have even literally looked up and said, "God, you're going to have to prove this to me really quick because I'm scared to death," And long story short, I get into my very first assignment, my first monologue. And we were all brand new students in this freshman acting class. And I remember maybe 3 weeks in, the professor said, "Who wants to go first?" We had all prepared different monologues. And to this day, I don't know how, but my hand goes up and I'm trying to get it back down, and I volunteered to go first. And I was scared to death. And I went up, set the stage, and I remember the monologue was about me telling my girlfriend that I was having to move to Germany because my dad was in the army and we were
Okay.
leaving. And I remember out of all the 20 some odd students that were in there, I had no clue really what I was doing. I was 3 weeks in. I pulled out, came out of character when it was over, and kind of refocused and looked at everyone out in the class from the stage where I was, and every single one of them was just bawling.
Wow.
And that was when I got my major confirmation that
Hmm.
this is what I needed to do. And I got in my car, drove home, got on my knees in my bedroom, rededicated my life to God, and dedicated my career to Him. And that's
Oh,
how it all began, with a clear vision from that night that I
yeah.
watched The Rifleman, that I wanted to grow up and affect people in positive ways, the way that show that night at the age of 7 had affected me. That was the purpose that God gave me clearly
Oh
when I
my
was
goodness.
7, but it was
Hmm.
10 years later before I really put
Sure.
feet to my prayers.
Yeah.
So
Well,
that's how it all started.
sometimes we don't. I mean, at that age, we don't understand exactly what it is we feel. We know we feel something, but we don't know necessarily that it's the call of God. I mean, when the way I started in this was I walked into a studio when I was 11 years old, and it was like I knew, oh, this is what I want to do. I mean, I loved the look, the smell, everything that was happening. I loved it. And it eventually ended up in that career, but I didn't understand then that it was actually a calling that I was feeling even at that point. Didn't know that until years later. So you know what, we're going to take a little break because this is all very interesting and exciting, but we're going to take a quick little break. We've got sponsors, of course, that we got to acknowledge here, so we'll be back, and then we're going to talk some more about where God has led you from that original monologue to where you are now. Okay, so folks, don't go away. We'll be right back.
Cell reproduction, more than duplication. It's careful selection and organization, ensuring the perfect balance for development and growth. Powerful, so is our programming. Parables, the leader in empowering entertainment. Parables. Be empowered. Start your free trial today.
This summer, come to Orlando and bring your family to the Holy Land Experience, where the true heroes live. See with your own eyes the stories of the Bible come to life as you have never seen them before. Through breathtaking live stage musical productions, you and your family will encounter the true heroes of our history. Make memorable moments this summer at Orlando's premier family vacation destination, the Holy Land Experience, where the true heroes live.
I wonder how long a dolphin lives. I wonder if they can make cookies in space. I wonder when people started brushing their teeth. I wonder if people and dinosaurs ever lived together.
Want to find out?
I wonder how much a cloud weighs.
Welcome back to Faith on Film. We're here today with my friend Jeff Rose. Jeff, we've had a great first segment in which you've told us kind of how you got started here, but now we're gonna move on into when you really started doing work professionally. I'm assuming as an actor.
Yes. Yeah, I started acting. Another interesting confirmation that I had, the first 22 auditions that I had, I ended up booking. Right.
Wow.
I did a lot of theater, but some of them were smaller roles than what I had auditioned for. I would audition for something bigger, but many of them were bigger roles. I would go in and read for one or two lines and ended up booking something a lot bigger, which happened to me on In the Heat of the Night, the television show.
Yes.
The episodic version of the movie with Rod Steiger. Carol O'Connor starred in it, and I ended up, I think it was season 3, I had a really big guest star role, and he sort of took me under his wing, and I had done some theater in Dublin just before that, and so we really hit it off, and he helped me, and I got really close. I was in the mix. I was almost cast as Robin in Tim Burton's second Batman in 1991. I got really close. A couple of really interesting things with Warner Brothers and Marion Doherty that transpired. It didn't happen, and it was a big roller coaster for me. It let me down in some ways because I thought that was my big opportunity, the big fish that got away, but it opened up so many doors that what that did for me is it led me to Los Angeles. I was already saved, but I moved to Hollywood being told by everyone I was about to move into the pit of hell, basically out there. But I moved to Hollywood, and I found people that were more in love with Jesus than I had ever met in the Bible Belt growing up outside of Atlanta. And that's not a knock against the South. It's just God led me to the place that I needed to be right then. And I even became closer to God than I had ever become. And it was in that stage of my life that God actually reordered my He didn't reorder it. He defined it more clearly, as only God can do. I think, as we know, sometimes God can only show us so much of a vision until we're ready. And what He started showing me at that point, I was blessed and working quite a bit, was that just like when I watched that show, The Rifleman, when I was 7, and was inspired by God to want to touch audiences and lead them to a higher place, hopefully a place closer to God, or at least closer to their family or whatever, that God was revealing to me that when I'm on set with individuals behind the camera for weeks at a time or months at a time, I get to befriend them and I get to witness them on a much deeper level.
Right.
And that positive influence on the influencers in the business can help change the paradigm of the business. And that became something more passionate, something that I could hold on to in a more passionate way when God revealed that to me. So I'm always really careful about my relationships behind the camera. I'm not perfect. I've made tons of mistakes, but I try to stay focused on that, and I ask God continually to keep me in check, with that one reality. One truth.
Well, I've pretty much worked in Christian TV all my life, except for 1 year that I did do secular television. I was directing a show for PAX TV. And one thing I remembered was, as we were going to do the show, we all got on the headset, and I said, okay, folks, I don't want to offend anybody, but I'm used to praying before we're doing a show. It just helps me to relax and calm down. And at first I heard that the guys out there on the cameras were looking at each other like, what in the world is this? But by the end of the week, it was a daily live show. By the end of the week, they were reminding me, hey, Isaac, don't forget to pray. So it was a positive impact that I had, in the secular side. But so you did all these secular movies. Now, did you at some point get into Christian movies?
Yeah, I always knew that would, as Christian film started becoming more of a real entity, I knew that I wanted to gravitate in that direction. And God has blessed me with so many opportunities, not the least of which is working with the Irwin brothers. I think you mentioned in the teaser, my son Brody plays the lead character for the first 45 minutes or hour of I Can Only Imagine. Well, I got to know them because I did a faith-based, I hope I have time to share this. Melissa McBride, who plays Carol on The Walking Dead, she and I were very close. We were almost cast in the same movie a long time ago. She went through a season where she became a casting director. She called me out of the blue 10 or 11 years ago and said, Jeff, I got this script. It's faith-based, she said, but it's got your name written all over it. You need to come meet the director. So I'm like, okay, send it to me as a short film. Well, I ended up reading it 2 pages in. I knew I had to do it. So I went, met with the director. They ended up casting me. Long story short, we ended up being nominated at the 168 Film Festival in Hollywood. I ended up going back to Hollywood for the first time since my mom got sick, which brought me back to Atlanta. I haven't had a chance to mention that yet. And ended up winning Best Actor.
Wow.
In that film that Melissa McBride from The Walking Dead had turned me on to. And the neat thing, the very neat thing about that, and I'll mention this, is Victoria Jackson is a good friend of mine from Saturday Night Live. Mm-hmm. And when she found out that I won that award, she said, hang on a second. She called someone on her phone, hands me the phone, and I hear this man. It seemed like a man who was sobbing a little bit. And I'm like, hello? This was only days after I had won this award. I had shared my testimony about how that episode of The Rifleman had touched me.
Right.
And had led me down this path. I realized it's Johnny Crawford, who played Mark McCain, the little boy on The Rifleman, 40-something years ago, in that same episode that had touched me. And he's on the phone bawling, telling me I have just inspired him 40-something years later. And we could write a movie about that, and people would go, no way, there's no way that could happen. But to this day, that was one of the most powerful God moments in my life. I mean, before it was over, I was bawling like a baby, right? And so all of that opened up many doors for me for the faith-based world. Beverly Holloway was one of the judges that voted for me that year when I won. I got to be close with her, and she actually, the way God would have it, she was like the stepping stone. She told Andrew Irwin about me, and he contacted me on Facebook, of all things, about a few months later and said, hey, I really enjoy your work. I'm watching you on this show and that show and all that. And all of that turned into a little bit part, an important part, but a bit part in Woodlawn a few years ago.
Okay.
So I got to be really close with them. And then Brody, a year and a half later, ends up becoming the lead actor in I Can Only Imagine. So only God can do that kind of stuff.
Well, listen, we're going to take another break here. I know, time just seems to fly so fast in these programs. It's unbelievable. We'll take a quick break, and then we'll come back. We'll talk. We'll continue talking about this, and I have a feeling we're going to end up having to do another show with you because there's just so much here to talk about. So listen, folks, don't go away. We'll be right back.
Sunflowers. To pollinate and reproduce, they turn and face the sun. Nature's way of reminding us that for ultimate growth, we must seek the light. Parables, the leader in empowering entertainment. Parables. Be empowered. Start your free trial today.
I wonder if penguins have knees. I wonder how many colors we can't see. I wonder why there's so many stars in the universe. I wonder if we ever looked like apes.
You want to find out?
I wonder if puppies have belly buttons.
Welcome back to Faith on Film. We're here again with my friend Jeff Rose. And Jeff, we literally just got into the part where you started to do Christian movies. Right. You, of course, are doing both right now, which, by the way, I have absolutely no problem with. I think it's good to do these Christian movies, but it's also good to be on a set of a secular movie and impact perhaps the crew, like you said, the people that are doing these movies. But tell me something. Now, I know you're in a movie that I think just came out. I'm not sure if it's come out already or if it will be coming out. Called My Brother's Keeper, I believe it is.
It's about to come out. The official trailer was just released maybe a week or so ago, and it's coming out in the theaters this year. Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Now, that's a Christian movie, I'm assuming.
It is. I've got one of the lead roles. It's me, T.C. Stallings, Shannon Fields, Keisha Knight Pulliam, and Joey Lawrence.
Wow.
And a great host of supporting actors all around us. Yeah.
Now, do you think it's important that faith-based movies should maybe start pushing the envelope a little bit? Because I know a lot of them are very, I don't even know what to call it, very clean, I call them dog and pony movies. Because it used to be that you put a dog and a pony in a movie, and in a Christian movie, and boom, it's successful. Right. Do you think maybe we should start pushing the envelope a little bit?
I am extremely passionate about that. And I understand people have different callings, right? There is definitely the need to preach to the choir. The church needs to go in to get revved up and all that. I'm all for it. I am. But for me, the call on my life is to reach the world, right?
Right.
And to help open their eyes, if not bring them directly to Jesus, at least open their eyes to the path toward him.
Right.
And what people ask me, I go to churches and colleges and give testimonies, and sometimes during a question and answer, they'll ask, well, what film has affected you the most? And no offense to any of the great faith-based films, I've been extremely, profoundly affected by many of them. But Braveheart by Mel Gibson affected me more than any other. There is so much imagery, and it's not preaching at you. It's just there if you know how to look for it. And yes, bad language, all of that stuff, but I'm of the cloth, for lack of a better way to put it, that if we want to make a movie and show the extreme power of Christ to transform someone's life, but you take the lead character and in the opening scene, he or she hits his or her hand with a hammer, and they're like, oh, dang it. Right? If that's the starting point, how are we truly going to convey what Jesus can do in someone's life? And to me, that's more powerful. I'm, for lack of a better way to put it, I guess I'm more of a broad end of the spectrum. I want a big story that's going to come together, not a tight little clean, button it up kind of a story, with a happy ending.
No, I agree. And you know what? There's movies that are intended, like you said, for the people that are already saved. I don't need to see a movie that's going to get me saved. I'm already saved. But I do want to see a movie that perhaps will, encourage me, that will strengthen my faith. But a non-Christian, he's not going to understand that kind of movie. And by the way, people are still trying to figure out, what is a Christian movie? Is it a movie that was done by a Christian? Is it a movie about Christ? Is it what is a Christian movie? I say a Christian movie is the movie that God told you to make, whether it be, again, a movie for the church or a movie for the unchurched. But if God told you to make that movie, to me, that is a Christian movie.
Amen. Amen.
And I'm glad that you I know we're probably going to get in trouble for saying some of this stuff, but that's okay. I can take it. I'm glad that you're
again. I mean, no offense to anyone. I'm not offending. There's a different place for all of us. I just find myself in that other niche.
I believe so. Well, listen, the time has just gone by, so we're definitely going to have to do a second show, hopefully very soon. I know that you're very busy, and probably when that movie releases, you're going to end up even busier. But I'm pretty sure you'll take a little time, right?
Tomorrow with Jen Godson, actually.
Oh, that's right. They're shooting. That movie. I was supposed to be there, but I just was not able to make it because I've got some things that I couldn't release.
Out here in Georgia?
Yes. Yep.
That's we're filming in North Georgia. Yeah.
Yep. I know.
Yeah.
Well, listen, Jeff, thank you very much for taking the time to be with us today and sharing a little bit about what's in your heart. Again, I look forward to having you back on again. So, folks, don't go away, though. We're going to be right back in just a couple minutes.
Sight and Sound Theaters invites you to experience one of the most powerful Bible stories ever told.
Samson, you're going to deliver our people from the Philistines.
God gave him the strength to fight thousands.
Where does he get his strength from? Nobody's that strong.
But his greatest challenge will be living with his own choices.
Who are you?
Delilah.
We want you to find out the secret of his strength.
We will destroy Samson.
Playing in Branson for one last encore season. Get ready for a mighty adventure for the whole family.
You are my rock and my strength. Be with me today.
Samson, live on stage at Sight and Sound Theaters in Branson, Missouri.
Welcome back to Faith on Film. That was a very exciting interview there with Jeff Rose. It was nice knowing kind of how he started at such a young age. That's when he felt the calling, if you will, to be involved in the film industry, and then how that road took him first through secular movies and then on to Christian movies, and now he's actually doing both movies, which means that he's able to impact both the Christians and the non-Christians, if you will. So I just want to invite you actually to pray for all these folks that are involved in faith-based movies. Some of them really sacrifice a lot to be able to be a part of a faith-based film industry. It's not like there's a lot of money in that, so there's a lot of sacrifice that sometimes that happens. So when you do your regular daily prayers, just remember, if you don't remember a specific person, just pray for all of those working in faith-based films. Also want to invite you to check out Parables TV. That's a platform where you can watch a lot of these faith-based and family movies that I talk about. Simply go to parables.tv, and there you'll be able to watch all kinds of great movies, documentaries, reality shows, children's shows, just a lot of great, good, healthy content. And of course, check us out on our Facebook page, Faith on Film TV, and also follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Faith on Film TV. So until next week, be blessed.